Now let's set up our leg into a hierarchy and then duplicate it to create the rest of the base. So we're just about done with this first level of our quick start to modeling in Maya. We just need to create the rest of our legs. So right now we've got all of these pieces in here. So if we go into our outliner, you can see that we have the polygon pieces that we extruded out, and then we have those NURBS bands that we created from those duplicated curves, and then we have the base itself. So let's just kind of clean things up a little bit. There may still be some history on some of these objects. So let's take all of these objects and let's delete the history. All right, we can go ahead and group these together. So there's really no hierarchy that we need apart from just having them all grouped, because there's nothing inside of this group that's going to be moving. These are all going to be kind of transforming as one piece. And so we can take all of these objects and also the base here, don't forget the base, and let's hit Control G and we'll group that together. Okay, we can call this just something like leg. Okay, and we can select all these. Let's actually freeze the transformations on those as well. So now we have all these pieces underneath. Now if you have something where you have a bunch of different pieces that have very specific, they're very unique, or they're a main part of the model, then you can give them a unique name. For instance, we could call this something like leg main. But if you have pieces that really it doesn't matter what they're called, they just need to have a unique name, then you can come in here and select all of those. And as we looked at, come up to rename, and we can just call this something like leg underscore, and it'll give those a unique name. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about this in the next lesson, but we just want to have this done because we're going to duplicate this. And so once we duplicate it, if we were to go back then and rename things, we'd have to do it multiple times. Here, we can do it at the beginning and then duplicate it, and that will carry through to our duplicates. So let's actually call this leg A. Okay, and let's make this leg A, and then we'll call this leg A, and we'll look in the next lesson at how to modify this for each leg so that we make sure everything has a unique name. So whenever we group this, the pivot of the group went to the origin. And so right now it's not at the center of these pieces up here. Okay, so we could move the rest of our pieces to the origin, or we can move the pivot point to the center of the group. So let's do that. So we've got translate. We can hold down the D key, and just kind of move this onto the center. And just to confirm this, let's go ahead and rotate this leg in the y-axis. And you can see how it rotates the entire leg now, the whole group, around this channel that we created. Okay, if you want to keep these curves, you can. Sometimes I'll go ahead and just hide those, or even group them and then hide them. So we have our leg model. So now what we can do is go ahead and either duplicate this and rotate it, or we can use duplicate special again. Now we need to figure out how many legs that we want. I think I just want 3 legs, but if you want more legs, then all you have to do is increase the number here. So we'll go to duplicate special. Let's reset this again. We want to now, instead of translating this, because remember we moved each of the solar cells, we moved them a certain amount after each copy. This time we want to rotate each copy. And again, this holds to be the X, Y, and Z. So we're going to be rotating around the Z. And in my case, I want to have 3 legs total. And so in order to create 3 legs, we want them to be evenly spaced, and they're going to be in a circle, so 360 degrees, right? So I know that I want each one of those to be rotated 120 degrees. So I'll put 120 in the Y box here under rotate. And then the number of copies, I already have 1, so all I need to do is create 2 copies. Now, if you want more copies, for instance, let's say that you wanted, you wanted 10 different ones, so just take that into 360 degrees and rotate them all 36 degrees, and that'll give them evenly spaced. So you just have to do the math as far as, how many of those legs that you want. Let's go ahead and duplicate special. And now you can see that I've got 3 legs automatically copied, and they're evenly spaced all around that base. Now, if you look in our outliner, you see we have 3 groups now, and it's leg A, which was our original, leg A1, and leg A2. So instead of having leg A, and again, having these that are named the same, we want to now change the naming. And we could go in manually and change that A to a B, or I can go ahead and, for instance, change that one. But you can see, actually I want to change that to B. And so we can change that A to a B, but for the rest of these, what we can do is go ahead and go under Modify, Search, and Replace Names. And we'll reset that. So we want to search for the string that we want to replace. And so in our case, we want to find the unique section of this. And so if you want to just search for underscore A and replace it with underscore B, we want to select the entire hierarchy, and we'll go ahead and apply it. And you can see it automatically switched all of those out for B. Here we can do the same thing. So we'll set this to C, and then for the rest of them, we'll search for A, and this time we'll replace it with underscore C. And that replaces all of those very, very quickly. Just saves a lot of time instead of having to go in and manually change names like that. That really speeds things up. And now we have our 3 legs. All right, so experiment a little bit with that, maybe changing up the number of copies that you want to make and the angle between all the copies. And if you want to manually put that in, you can do that as well. In the next lesson, we'll just finish everything up by talking a little bit about some of the things we can do to check our model, check the normals. We will talk a little bit more about cleaning up the hierarchy and naming and things like that. And then we'll talk about your assignment for the end of this particular level of our quick start before moving on to level 2. So we'll go ahead and finish up in the next lesson.